All right, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing the review on the 2024 Matthew Berry Challenge. One of the things that I just think is so important in this industry that nobody wants to do for whatever reason is I just think more people should evaluate the evaluator, because there's always nonsense before the season. You never hear about it after the season, and then those same people trust those same people the following season. It's a concept I've never really truly understood, but that's 100% why we're starting this series, because I just think there's a lot of nonsense that comes from the fantasy community. If I'm wrong, let's hold me accountable too. Like, maybe you don't think you should trust me. That's fine. That's exactly why we do this, because I want people to trust what's coming out of my mouth. So let's hold each other accountable. James Herrick is the referee, as always. He's in charge of the scoring system. This way I'm not marking it off myself. So James, what's going on? How are you?
It's a great time. Love talking some fantasy football, and this challenge has been a fun one through the 2 years we've done it. So I enjoy sitting down and looking through some of these things, and we talked our fair share of shit before the season started.
Yes, we did.
I was looking back at the video. I was like, wow, we're really talking. And it'll be fun to sit back and do the opposite end of that and go over it and recap it.
Absolutely. I don't know where we want to start exactly, but Trey had a very good fantasy year. I don't know if you want to just pull up maybe we start with the website standings, because I mean, I basically got the guys that I wanted or was high on, but I was 3 for 3. I don't know if I would have lost the league this year. I could have been in 100 leagues. I may have won 100. I had a very, very good fantasy year. That doesn't mean I was right about everything that I said, but I think that would maybe be the best place to start, because if we talked all this shit, how did it go afterwards? And Trey made some money this year. We'll say that.
Yeah, I will pull up the site league. I'll go standings, then we can take a dive into the roster.
Yeah, I think that would be probably a good place to start, maybe.
So here are the site leagues. Trey goes 13-1.
Fucking chickster.
3,248 points, with second place finishing at 2,607 points. So, and then it looks like me and Matt were right next to each other for second and third in most points, with still 2,700 and 2,700. And when you open up the team, this is what it was looking like.
Yeah.
So,
pretty good.
Quite good. Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Bo Nix, James Cook, Gus Edwards, Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Tyrone Tracy, which is funny because we'll actually talk about Tracy later. Yeah. AJ Brown, T. Higgins, Jerry Jeudy, DK Metcalf, Rondell Moore, which that's your salary cap placeholder, right?
Yeah, those are. I mean, there's a couple cuts in there. Like I cut Fields when Fields did good, and then I had to cut him when he got benched. So like shit like that is the dead money.
Yep. And then Cortland Sutton, Xavier Worthy, Brock Bowers, George Kittle, Brandon Aubrey, Chris Boswell. And you had the distinction of kicking me out of the playoffs as well. So you got revenge on last year for when I got you in the finals. You got me quite bad this year in the semifinals.
In the stupid snake draft ESPN league I'm in, I'm on pace to win by like 150 somehow, which is insane. And in the 13-team league, I won by 1 point in the semis, and then I blew out Chad in the final. So we went 3 for 3. I might have won 100 leagues in a row this year. I had a great fantasy year. So anyone that just is curious about that, we'll start there.
Yep. There's no games when it comes to putting the roster together and putting the product out there. All right.
VendettaSportsMedia.com. Please read.
Yes, especially the preseason fantasy stuff. For Christ's sake, read it.
Yeah.
Do you just want to start in the same order that we went through with? I believe it started at quarterback.
Sounds good. I'll say this though. I do have a few regrets. My number one regret being I wish I would have added to fucking Anthony Richardson, because I've never been a Richardson guy, and I'm like, you know what? Let's just leave the rushing quarterbacks alone. I should have fucking added them.
Yeah. Yep. I remember that being a part of the video. Let's just not touch the rushing quarterbacks. Still went good on quarterbacks.
I've never been a Richardson guy, and he got benched. So there was that. And I should have put Deontay Johnson on there too. The only reason why I didn't is because you know what? I think Carolina will be slightly more competent, and if he's getting 150 targets, maybe he'll sneak his way in there. Nope, he's just a bum too. those are the two regrets that I knew I wasn't gonna ever have those guys on my team, but I didn't know for sure if they would hit it.
Yeah. First quarterback. It was the over on the one and only. Also, before we get into that, the over means he finishes at, we'll say, quarterback 20, for example. If you take the over, that means he finishes higher than 20. So quarterback 23, 24, and so on. So first one, over on QB 25 for Kirk Cousins. He actually finished, I was very surprised where he finished. He finished at quarterback 20, which, for Christ's sake, is...
So he won that one?
No. No, you took the over at 15, and he finished worst.
Okay.
So he did not win that one.
I was going to say, there's no way he won Kirk Cousins.
That ended up being like, when I thought he was going to be quarterback, I don't know, 35 or something like that after getting benched. But
couple injuries.
Yeah, he sneaks in at QB 20, but I mean that one's pretty straightforward. That's about as a landslide as.
Well, I was for this one. I was mostly going to ask you how many bonus points do I get on top of this? Because number one, Darnold outscored him, which nobody fucking had, but I was very loud about that. And number two, he actually got benched by Penix, which we said in the video was a very real possibility.
Yeah.
So I think we played this about as perfectly as we possibly could. I wanted no stock of Kirk Cousins. I thought this Falcons team was a total fraud show. And everything we said about him fucking happened.
Yeah, and hey, we also talked a lot about the difference between Minnesota and Atlanta. And that in itself played out. I mean, that couldn't have played out better. We're talking about moving from Minnesota, moving to Atlanta.
I mean, I had
Sam Darnold having some life, and you might as well just take Sam Darnold. So, I mean, that was about as big of a success as you can get. And if you were someone who drafted Kirk Cousins, and you're living with some of these games, I mean, none of these games are good, but he's at least giving you production. And he got benched for the playoffs. So it's not if you didn't cut him by the playoffs, you were screwed regardless. And at that point, it's hard to add people because of how many injuries you had.
Yeah.
So you were getting screwed by the fact that you didn't even have a chance to get any points out of him come playoffs.
In my league, in the 13-team league, because we do contracts and stuff, Penix was already taken. So it would have been very hard by fantasy playoffs. I mean, you were looking at Tommy DeVito, or maybe Drew Lock would have been your replacement by then.
Yeah. Which, I mean, you actually would have got a good game out of Drew Lock.
Yeah,
which, good luck to you. I mean, if you're throwing out Drew Lock out there in fantasy playoffs and he gives you that performance, you better, it doesn't get more lucky.
You probably would have been eliminated by that point, but yeah, Drew Lock would have had one for you. What's the ruling on this? I just think there should be at least more than one because, I mean, not only did he finish it, Darnold outscored him, and he got benched. I mean, where are we going with this?
I say we go 2. 2 points total, 1 for the original over, and then tack on the bonus point for the Sam Darnold love that was given in the original video, and acknowledge a little bit of the.
Now everybody likes Sam Darnold. It's weird how that works.
Exactly.
Weird how that works.
Everybody loves Sam Darnold. Minnesota has to keep him. Yeah. I mean, they gotta give him $100 million. You know how that goes. I wonder if anybody saw it coming. Surely nobody did.
My only regret is I didn't bet Minnesota for the division title, which may not cash, but it's still alive somehow.
Yeah, exactly. That is I mean, Lions fans here, I'm not thrilled about that, but I mean, it would have been a good bet. Next quarterback we've got on the list is Tua.
He definitely didn't hit.
No, this one was a win for Barry.
He may have actually hit on points per game, but I'm not positive on that.
You took he might have. I didn't check on points per game though. You hit the under. You took the under. QB 17. He finished as QB 23.
So he might have actually hit points per game then.
Yeah, because he missed 5 games.
That's a lot.
5. Yeah. He would have. It would have been a hit if he wouldn't have missed games.
Yeah.
And I do want to acknowledge that when I was watching the video, you were like, I don't know if I should take this one.
Yeah.
This one's an iffy one and stuff like that. And it was basically the fact that the way Barry started off his write-up, he was like, call me the new Brian Flores because I hate Tua or something to that effect.
It was outrageous the way he was wording it.
And you were like, I got to take him now. So it was a lot of it was a little bit of a karma play, and the fact that it didn't play out, but he got Tua on that one. And I mean, I don't even think it's that bad of a call considering he missed 5 games. Like, what are you gonna do?
I think he would have hit it. I want to see. Can we check points per game? Because I think he would have hit it.
So he would have needed QB 16 had 247.
I know the scoring isn't exactly the same, but I just pulled it up quick on Fantasy Pros. He's 14 on Fantasy Pros points per game.
Yeah. So
he would have hit it.
Because he was about, give or take, about 55 points off a QB.
And how about
16 finish?
Cousins is 29 on points per game.
Yeah. So
he wouldn't have hit it regardless of the benching.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a rough one, but some of the guys that finished ahead of him missed games. Richardson technically finished ahead of him. May technically finished ahead of him. Love missed 2 and finished ahead of him. So, but I think he would have got there on points, obviously points per game. But if he played the games, he needed about 10 points a game to hit the mark. Which, I mean, he's a quarterback. He could have played bad and got the 10 points. So
what's the scoring? It's a point for him.
Barry.
Okay.
Justin Herbert is the next quarterback, and Herbert is about as easy of a call as you get. This is under QB 19 was the ruling, and he finished as QB 14. So, I mean, a lot of the things that were said on that one were pretty accurate. Like, I believe the big point that we talked about was Harbaugh coming in.
I'll say this too about Herbert. He heated up as the season went along. Like, he had a couple weeks where they were really conservative. I mean, really conservative. But by the end of the year, it felt like they were opening shit up. They like, okay, we got McConkey. We're trusting him now. Like, I think his last 3 or 4 weeks really, really hit it.
His last 2 weeks were 22.2 and 24.2.
Which is important because, I mean, I structure all this shit around the fantasy playoffs. I want my team to peak around the fantasy playoffs. So if you had Herbert, he probably helped you in the fantasy playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he really had, there's a 6.1 in there. I don't remember if he got hurt in the game. And then he had a couple of 2 9s and 11, and those came.
He had some ankle issues earlier in the year.
Yeah. So he started slow and got hot, but still hit QB 7.
That's better. I think a really important thing is I'd much rather start slow and finish hot. I want to win my fucking league. Who gives a fuck if I finish second, third? This is about winning your league. So he was absolutely a hit.
Yeah, we'll talk about the inverse of that in a minute because there's some guys on here that completely flip that and give you the big early season, get high in the rankings, come playoff time.
But I do have everything in my power to avoid those people. Yeah,
and those people were on the hate list, and we'll talk about them in a minute. Those are some of the guys coming up that you took overs on. So, but point being, Herbert finishes easily under the QB 17 mark. This next one, kind of a tough call. Switching over to the running backs, Joe Mixon. You took the over on RB12. He finishes RB12.
Wow.
So right on the dot there. And as a tiebreaker, I looked at ESPN PPR. He finishes as RB13 over there.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's a pretty similar spot on that aspect of things as well. So,
well, I would say this, though.
Mm-hmm.
He did not help you in the fantasy playoffs at all. And that was a big thing for me. I didn't want to trust these older running backs. The last 2-3 weeks of the year is what really fucking matters. And those guys, they faded in the last 2 or 3 fucking weeks. And I think I actually have this draft on the website. It's going to be an article titled "Why I Blame Zach Taylor for Being Wrong About Joe Mixon." Because if you really watch the fucking Bengals, it's pretty obvious now that they were part of the fucking problem. Like that team just has no physical toughness at all. And I mean, I was right in the sense that I thought the Texans would take a step back. Like I didn't view them as a Super Bowl contender, which was another reason why I had them on the list. I was right about that. But I think now when you really go back and watch it, man, that Zach Taylor offense, I mean, he wants a nickel running back. They're in shotgun, 3 wide receiver. Like a big reason why he wasn't crazy in Cincinnati. Obviously now, I mean, that team is just not tough at all.
Yeah. Couple other things here. Like you said, all the running backs fall apart end of the year. He had a bye in week 14. So I don't know what we're doing with week 14 buys, but he comes back from the bye. He gives you 5.6, 7.1, and 3.9 to end the
Killed
year.
you.
Killed you.
He killed you.
Part of me wants to give you the point on that, and part of me wants to say I call it a push. So I'm kind of in between a little bit. Another thing I will acknowledge is that in the video, you did say the phrase, quote, "You're drafting him at his ceiling." At RB12, and he hit the ceiling. So, like, you were correct on that. So, I'm a little bit in the middle here. I'll go concession and give you a half point for the fantasy football fall apart. Because I was either
like I don't know. Maybe some people operate differently. When I draft my fucking team, I care about weeks 15, 16, and 17. I take my guys based off of that. I want to win the fucking league. So Mixon just at that spot wasn't going to be a guy that I went after. Luckily, I didn't have him and he didn't kill me. But if you had him throughout the year, he definitely helped you.
Yeah. And I don't want to, we can throw rocks at Barry for plenty of things. Example, Kirk Cousins. But I don't want to shame him too much for calling a guy RB12 and him finishing RB12. So
fair.
That's the flip side of that.
Fair.
The next running back on the list is a interesting discussion as well.
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara.
Sure.
So Alvin Kamara.
I was dead to rights in week 2, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Alvin Kamara, you took the over on RB16. He finishes as RB14.
Wow.
However, so he gets you on that.
Yeah.
But that is off the back of a, let's see here, 50-point week 2.
Yep.
That is the only time, there's one other time, week 8, that he eclipsed 20 points. So he gives you 50 in week 2, gives you 21.
A smart move would have been to trade him after week 2.
Yes. He gives you 21.5 in week 8. And this is a touchdown premium league we're looking at here. So it's easier for running backs to clip that 20-point number. And then he also does not play week 16, week 17.
And by the way, I think that's a huge point because every single year I say this phrase. I do not want running backs on bad teams. I am convinced he would have played if they were in the playoff mix. Because it was like a minor groin thing and they just shut him down. If he was on a good team, he would have played.
Yeah, the Saints have no incentive to win. I mean, like if you don't put Kamara on that offense, like
that was a big reason why I didn't want him. I didn't want anybody on this fucking Saints team. I didn't trust. Now on the Matthew Berry show, they talked about how they were a Super Bowl team, but
yeah, I can pull that up. I've got that.
Do you have it?
Yeah, I got that ready to go.
I just think I say this phrase all the time, and I'm glad that my team doesn't operate this way. But there's 2 types of people. There are loyal people and there are devoted people. One group of people tell you what you want to hear, and the other group of people tell you what you need to hear. And he's got a lot of yes men around him. Chickster doesn't operate like that. I'll tell you that. All right.
Here is the.
I can't wait to see this. It's so fun. I remember watching this at the time. I was like, "You gotta be fucking kidding me!"
I'm gonna call my next Saints shot. They're 15-1 on DraftKings to win the NFC. They're double the price of the Cowboys. You see them play the Cowboys? Why are they worse than the Cowboys? Why are they 3 times the price of a Lions team that doesn't look good at all so far? The NFC's wide open. Like, Niners did not look great against Minnesota. I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Saints win this division. They get a top 2 seed. You're gonna go into New Orleans. Saints.
Super Bowl is
in New Orleans. We'll be there. I'll be
Orleans.
wearing my Chris Olave jersey at the Super Bowl come early February.
There you go, by the way. They are.
Who wants to bet he won't be wearing his Chris Olave jersey at the Super Bowl if he's there?
I will say, I also think it's worse when you make a bad call and make sure to give people the betting odds on your bad call right before you make it. That makes it a million times worse. A million times worse. He also had the right tool, but he was holding it by the wrong end. He's like, did you see the 49ers against Minnesota?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, I mean,
Minnesota
was the one you wanted. I mean, you saw the game, but you were looking at it through the wrong lens. So, whew.
So where are we going with this? Because this is another one where, I mean, I was right. He faded down the stretch. He killed you. If you relied on him as like your RB1 or RB2, he killed you.
Also, I did take the quote again. So for Joe Mixon, it was drafted at ceiling. For this one, it was, quote, he'll fall apart late. So, like, he doesn't even play the last 2 weeks. I say we go another half point here, round it out, because once again, he technically hits the – you don't hit the over, but the message in the argument is there. So it's like, by technicality, someone could get upset and be like, oh, well, you didn't hit the over when you take the over.
Sure.
But then again, like, the heart of the argument is the important part. Like, the actual evaluation, and that part was correct.
I actually want to I should probably send you one more thing. And I'm fine with that ruling. But I want to send you one more thing because I got in an argument, not really an argument, more of a discussion with the that fantasy show that I went on before the year. And these two players were drafted around the same spot. And I think we had the right approach on that.
So the running backs in question, James Cook, Alvin Kamara. RB13, just going off what we've got here. RB13 Cook, RB16 Kamara preseason. Who you drafting? Kamara wins the poll, which is actually surprising to me. You say, Cook easy. I'm shocked Kamara is winning this by a landslide. If the Saints didn't view him as a declining asset, they would have redid his contract already. Only a matter of time before he played face plants like Dalvin. It continues. Basically, can still be a declining asset and have good seasons. Basically saying they need to keep him involved in the offense.
Cook did not have Cook did not have a low touchdown number. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
What did he score? Like 14 or something like that?
15? Yeah, he scored an absurd number.
I had Cook in every league. Every fucking league I was in, I had Cook.
I think he had I think the most out of 9 quarterbacks aside from Saquon or something like that. I'm butchering this off the top of my head, but he had touchdowns.
I just thought that was important because it was like, okay, well, if you fucking hated Kamara, who did you take in that spot instead?
Yep.
And I had Cook in every league I was in.
Yep. Higher on the age curve, better offense, better O-line. You're too Joe Brady. I mean, that's pretty. And
there were what? I mean, in reality, there were 8 running backs that mattered, and this is in no order. It was Henry, Barkley, Kyron Williams, Josh Jacobs, Cook. Who am I missing? Gibbs. And who am I missing?
James Conner was RB8. Jonathan Taylor RB9.
Taylor, maybe. Yeah, that was
Bijan. I don't know if you saw
that was
Bijan.
it. Those were Bijan, right? And Bijan. Those were the only running backs that really fucking mattered. If you did not have some combination of those 8 running backs, you lost.
Mm-hmm. The scoring, James Conner finished RB8 with 226. And then RB7 was James Cook, who finished with 259. So we'll talk about like the differences between guys a little bit later. But like once you jump from the gap in between RB8 and RB7 was massive.
Those handful of guys, Barkley, Bijan, Henry, Cook, Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams, and Gibbs. If you had any of those groups, you had a fucking shot. If you did not have one of those running backs, you probably lost.
Yep. And when you're drafting Cook as RB13, that means there's a shot you got 2 of them. If you were the guy who got Cook at 13 instead of Kamara, that means there's a chance you drafted a.
Well, that's exact. Even in the snake draft, that's exactly what happened to me. I ended up getting Derrick Henry and Gibbs, and then I got Cook as my 3rd guy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's how you win leagues.
Yeah.
So, we'll close that out. All right. This is a fun one. RB34. You took the over. The one and only Jonathon Brooks. And I also think
that was awesome.
I also think in the same conversation we can talk about Nick Chubb.
Sure.
Because we a lot of the conversation with the Jonathon Brooks thing was, why are you taking Brooks coming off injury when you can just take Chubb coming off injury? And I'm not saying, I mean, Chubb got hurt again, so it's not like he.
Well, they both got hurt again.
Yeah. Jonathon Brooks, and just for to some behind the scenes here, when I was trying to figure out Jonathon Brooks's finish in fantasy, I actually forgot to write it down. But point being, I had to expand to like 150 people. I tried to Control F, type in Brooks. There was a different guy with the last name Brooks that finished ahead of him. I couldn't even tell you who that guy is.
The receiver on the Cowboys, probably.
No,
Oh,
it was another running back.
I was searching the Packers' 3rd string running back, Brooks.
Yeah, I was searching by Brooks's, and I got a different running back before him. I'm like, holy hell. So he finished on the year with playing in 3 games. He went 0.7.
Yep.
4.1. And negative 0.3. So all that work he did in his 0.7 game really got X'd out by his negative 0.3 game. And then he gets hurt again.
Yep.
Meanwhile, if you took Chubb got hurt again, so he only finished RB 54. However, he did give you like actual weeks with value.
When he was back the first few weeks, he scored a couple touchdowns. I mean, he probably made your lineup in best ball a couple times. Probably not often, but maybe 3 times, something like that, out of so many weeks.
Chubb gave you an 11.2, a 22, and a 12.5.
Okay.
I mean, it's nothing to write home about.
No, but I mean, those probably made your lineup when you picked them, and I mean they were free. Both of them were basically free.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. You're getting them both for free. One of them gave you 5 points, and the other one gave you a couple weeks where you actually used them in your lineup. So, I mean, it's a pretty easy.
Can we pull up the draft profile on Brooks? Because I know that nobody fucking said this before the year, but I had a 7th round grade on him. And everybody got their panties in a bunch about, well, is he the best running back in the draft? I mean, everybody said that. Everybody fucking said that. 7th round grade. Nobody had that either. Nobody.
For people listening, I have a 7th round grade on Jonathon Brooks. I assume he won't be there by that time. I would pick him. Brooks should be compatible in a capable in a committee, but I don't think he's special enough to use a premium pick on. Not the way running backs come and go now. Can't go higher with him coming off the ACL. And he gets rehurt and gives you nothing.
That's about as accurate as it gets.
Yeah.
Unless I said he should have been undrafted than me. Yeah.
And do you want to throw up, while we're at it, do you want to throw up the running back rankings here?
Sure.
And get into the Bucky Brooks stuff, Bucky Brooks, Jesus Christ, Bucky Irving stuff as well, because
I thought we were going to talk about that during the Tracy section, but we can do.
Oh, we can do that. We can do that during the Tracy section. That's okay.
Just because I think it's important for people to. There's always context involved. I thought it was a horrible running back draft, and the one running back that I wanted was him. So we can wait for that whenever that one comes up. So what's the scoring on Brooks?
I say we give it a 2-pointer because also that not counting that as just Brooks, but also Chubb over Brooks. So there's more pieces in that than just taking the over on Brooks. So.
I mean, I do have a couple videos when we do the Evaluate the Evaluator series of people saying that he was going to be a top 20 running back, top 15 running back, Brooks. I want to clarify, this wasn't just Yahoo Sports that said this. This was a lot of places that said this.
Roll the clip.
Right, when I originally wrote my NFL draft notebook, I suggested Jonathon Brooks being like a top 35 fantasy back. And after looking at it more, I've moved him up to my RB20, who compared favorably to Bijan Robinson during their final seasons at Texas. Brooks would have been drafted higher if not for the ACL tear, which was clean, no meniscus. He's on track to be cleared by training camp. So really, I think maybe people are overrating the injury here. He can pass protect. I understand Carolina's new coaching staff will have reason to be patient with him, but they're also invested in Brooks, way more talented than Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders. Panthers do limit his upside, but they want to run the ball, Harmon. Dave Canales in there, Deontay Johnson, Xavier Legette. I'm not sure how you pronounce that one. But again, I think it's a big tier after the 19 running backs. And I'll take Brooks the next one then. Give me an RB20 right now, even if it takes a little patience. It may not even take that much patience. Give me Brooks, top 20 fantasy back. Heat check, Harmon.
I think I'm with you on this one. I actually think that from an early best ball ADP perspective, the last running back I feel very good about, and even saying this guy like very good makes me a little uncomfortable, but Joe Mixon at running back 16 is kind of the last guy where, all right, cool, I see it. I start to get a little concerned about like Alvin Kamara at 17, Aaron Jones at 18, Ramondre Stevenson at 19. Dave Montgomery at 20, I still think is a screaming value, but that's like another topic. But we're in that tier of guys where Dave Montgomery is splitting the backfield, Najee Harris splitting the backfield, James Conner probably splitting the backfield with Trey Benson, DeAndre Swift definitely splitting the backfield, Tony Pollard splitting the backfield. So like, why would I not just want to go ahead and take Jonathon Brooks there? Because when he's 100% ready to go, which like he might be out there. I think he's going to be out there week 1. I think he's going to be out there in training camp. I think he might even play a little bit in the preseason, but maybe that would be kind of stupid to risk him. Overall, though, I think he said he's going to be ready by training camp. July 1st was his like target date. I think he's probably going to hit that target date. Once he's 100% ready to rock from just like a utilization standpoint, I think he's going to be the like clear-cut lead back. Chuba Hubbard is like just the definition of a replacement level player, not needle mover.
I mean, every single fucking fantasy place lost their minds over this guy. Compares favorably to Bijan. He's going to be out there week 1. You guys are fucking doctors. I mean, it's insane.
I never got the inclination that he was going to play. Like early in the year.
Yeah.
Where did that go?
Well, when I went on that fantasy show, they're like, who do you like more, Brooks or Benson? I was like, neither. I don't think either of them are the best back.
Also, I pulled it up while the video was rolling. He finished at RB 112.
112.
Behind the likes of CJ Ham.
He didn't finish ahead of CJ Ham.
I mean,
no shot he didn't finish ahead of a fullback. That's funny. That's funny. That's funny. Oh, that definitely deserves bonus points if he ain't finishing above CJ fucking Ham. Oh my god.
Next on the list, we've got a little bit of
what's it now?
Oh, it's 6'2" or 6'1", 6'1".
Okay.
These next two guys, it's kind of a little bit of a interesting discussion, or at least a complicated one. Video was made. It was like, let's just throw these two guys on here for like a half point, and we didn't really have, it wasn't like a slamming the table on and over for these next two guys. The first of the pair, Chase Brown, over 29, RB 29. He finished. He finished RB 13. So he hit it by
for him.
Pretty
How
decent
about I found this
margin.
out? Apparently he couldn't see during his rookie year and he got LASIK surgery. Makes a lot more sense why he looks so fucking bad as a rookie. I didn't know that at the time, but I found out that recently that, hey, good for him for getting his eyes fixed. So that I wish I had that information before the draft, but
also
Zach Moss would have outscored him though. Zach Moss was on pace to outscore him.
That's what I was gonna say. Like Zach Moss did get hurt, so there's a little bit of a asterisk there, in my opinion. It's
And
not
he
like
was ahead of him
he went-
at the time.
Yeah.
I believe he was.
Also, when the rankings were made, we talked about this in the video, but in the rankings, he put Zach Moss and Chase Brown right next to each other, so that he didn't have to differentiate between the two. So it's not like there was this strong pound the table for Chase Brown. It was, well, I'll put them right next to each other. It's whatever. So I think my ruling here is going to be half point. I'll do the half point for Barry since
I'll say this though. If you had him in the fantasy finals, I went up against him a couple times. What the fuck was that slide where he injured himself? That was bad. Did you see that when he injured himself trying not to score?
Yeah.
That was awful.
He didn't perform well in the last 2 games of the season. He didn't perform that great either. Where'd he go? 10.9, 9.1. You could have really used that touchdown.
Yeah.
You kind of needed that one. And they scored afterwards, right?
Yeah, they scored the next play.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Next back, kind of a similar discussion here as well. Tyrone Tracy, who you had on your team.
I had him on 2 teams.
Yeah.
I didn't draft him. I picked him up as a free agent, though.
Took the over 56 on Tyrone Tracy. And I don't think this was a terrible call because the discussion here there was a lot about handcuff running backs. And it was like, why would you handcuff a Giants running back? Well, Singleton gets hurt and he becomes a starter, so he outproduces the rest of the handcuffs and immediately flies up the board. Finishes RB.
As soon as Singletary got nicked up, I picked him in 2 leagues.
Yeah. RB 28 is the finish. And one of the things that we said was, or you said, Jordan Mason, take Jordan Mason instead of him. And in all honesty, you could have taken Jordan Mason, rode the wheels on Mason until they fell off, and then just went to Tracy. You could have had both of them, honestly.
I actually did that exact thing in 1 league.
Yeah. So we can give Barry the point because you take over 56, he finishes 28. But
this is where I want to talk about Bucky Irving, though, because I just thought coming in, it was a horrible running back draft. I didn't really trust any of the running backs to help you as a rookie, except for one. I thought there was a chance that it actually happened. I thought there was a good chance that Bucky would be something in Tampa, and then at the best case scenario, he's even better than Rachaad White and really takes over that backfield. I just thought I didn't hate Tracy. I don't want people I didn't hate Tracy. If anybody that reads my draft profile on him, I just thought, man, he's a converted wide receiver. This guy's been playing wide receiver for 4 years. Then he switched to running back as his last college season. Is this thing might take some time here before he really becomes good. So I didn't see him helping you as a rookie on a bad team.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to emphasize. A lot of bad team talk.
Yeah.
Every time we said something, we then say, then you're taking the handcuff for the Giants. That was a lot of the discussion for
but this
Tyrone
is where
Tracy.
I want to talk about Bucky because I just thought out of all the rookie running backs, if you were going to pick one, it had to be him. He had the best chance to really help you. So if we could pull up that video, because I can't wait to create some of these Evaluate the Evaluator videos, because I'm Hot Take Trey, and what happens when Hot Take Trey is correct? Is he no longer Hot Take Trey, or is he still Hot Take Trey?
On this show might be Hot Take Trey, but talk a little bit more about Bucky Irving on top of anybody else.
I would love to. I love Bucky Irving. Give me some Bucky Irving. I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying he's a world beater, but I think we need to temper our expectations for what this running back class truly is. If I'm getting a guy that had 56 receptions at Oregon, this is a PPR league, he catches the ball really well. There's no denying that. I get him in Tampa. Rachaad White had 3.6 yards per carry or something like that for his career. He can be had. Let's not sit here and pretend that Rachaad White is just this all-stud. He can't be had. I think there's a reason why they drafted Bucky Irving in the 4th round. What did Rachaad White have? 275 carries last year or something? That's coming down. And if it doesn't come down this year, it'll come down next year. With Irving, I have compared him to – my expectation is he'll be a 15% better version of Devin Singletary. Maybe that won't blow you away. But for this running back class, if I can get a guy that can catch the ball, he averaged 6.3 yards per carry last year and 6.8 the year before. I think the only reason that he's sliding is he's not overly fast straight line. But, like, okay. I mean, all these running backs are flawed. So,
yeah,
it is what it is. Like, he's Chicago tough, 4-star recruit, big-time production, all first-team Pac-12. So, I don't know. If I can have him in the 4th round, I'm good with it.
Gotcha. I didn't give you a lot of time to talk about Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, can we find where I said he was the RB1? Because that happened.
Oh,
That actually happened. He was the number one. He was the number one scoring running back for rookie running backs.
I think they all stink, to be honest with you. I think
So
this is the worst running back draft I can remember ever since kind of doing this, and we're talking maybe 20 years or so.
Okay.
I had Bucky Irving as my number 1 running back, and if he was on my 2025 list, I think he would be RB9. So I'm just not high on really any of them. Like, we're gonna sit here and pretend that Jonathon Brooks is so great, but he couldn't beat out Roschon Johnson. Why is that the case? Why is nobody talking about this?
Yeah, everybody. That's such an interesting point because everybody likes to talk about how he was trapped behind Bijan Robinson. Nobody brings up Roschon Johnson. So.
Well, why didn't he get more carries than Roschon Johnson? Why won't anybody answer that question? I'm sitting here waiting to find out. Trey Benson has a lot of knee issues. Do you trust him to hold up in a dynasty league? I don't know. Maybe. He's fast, but I think he's kind of like this is going to sound like a compliment, but I think he's kind of like a poor man's Breece Hall. He runs really upright. He's got some speed to him, but I don't know if I trust his lower body stuff. It would make me nervous if I'm holding on to him for a long, long time. I think he'd be better in like a redraft league.
Yeah,
So,
and some of the best ball drafts I've seen recently.
Okay.
Better.
Yeah. So, can we pull up the scoring for? Or I think what did he finish as like RB? He's in the teens somewhere, wasn't he, Irving?
Bucky Irving, RB 17.
Not bad.
Also, this is we've
and
talked
that
about
and
this
that
a lot,
was
but-
the second half of the year. If you did the
Yep.
split of the second half of the year, he's probably a lot higher than that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. His first 4 weeks, he goes 7.6, 2.2,
Yeah.
8.4, 13.5. Finishes, he had a 1.8, but then he finishes the last 3 weeks 11.3, 17.2, 19. Also he was 23 and 26.
He
point
was
games.
huge. He was absolutely huge for me in some of the playoff weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Bucky Irving is the rookie you wanted, and also, we can pull up your actual running back rankings because you had him RB1 on those as well.
Yeah, I just don't want people to sit there and be like, "Oh, well, you fucking hated Tracy." I didn't hate him. I just this was the guy that I wanted instead.
Yeah. So, Bucky Irving, RB1. So, there's some context there as well as, well, you really can only afford to roster so many rookie running backs.
Yeah. And in this draft,
yeah, it's not like you're getting
nobody else really helped you. Like,
Yeah.
of all the running backs, nobody else helped you.
in this upcoming draft. You can afford to
Yeah.
take an extra 1 or 2,
Totally.
but like
Totally.
in that one last year, what are you gonna do? Roster 4 of these guys and pray?
No.
Just simply didn't work out for you.
So what do we have as a ruling for that?
Gonna go half point Barry again.
Okay.
For taking the over, and it's,
I wish I could have like 6 points for Irving.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. I'm gonna have to tag those fantasy people or something. We'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
because that's a good call to not have. There was no Bucky Irving under on the list, which would have been a sweet one.
He didn't hate him though. But,
Yeah,
but that's the
But
other thing
play-
about this challenge.
by the
I'm
rules,
always
playing by the rules.
This is the thing about this challenge. Imagine if I could cherry pick whatever the fuck I wanted and just listed guys I hate and guys I don't like. I'm
Mhm.
going off of his list.
Yeah. Yep, you're going off his love and hate list, which
Yeah.
I don't think we really went too deep on the actual way we do it at the beginning of the beginning of the video. But
I can't
that's
just pick
fine.
whatever I want. If he don't mention them, I can't talk about it.
Yeah. So if there's no Bucky Irving mentioned, you can't take the under on Bucky
Right.
Irving. There's other guys as well. Probably could have been an under on James Cook in there as well, but like There's plenty of guys you hit on that
Well, he
weren't
had.
even
I
on the
think he
board.
had James Cook on his love list, but I was just higher than him.
Yeah, you loved him more.
Yeah.
All right. Next running back, and is this a classic or what? DeAndre Swift.
Okay.
I mean, a return.
He hit it though, right?
A staple. Yeah, so you took the under RB 24. Didn't this wasn't a kill, this wasn't a smash out of the park,
No.
but you were on the right side. It was RB 21 was the finish.
He was a perfect RB3 for you if you had him.
Yeah.
Like if you had like some combination of like if you had like a Derrick Henry, Cook, and then Swift was your third guy, you were living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he finishes RB 21, quite a few productive weeks. I mean, he didn't do much in the playoffs. He didn't really do much to start the year, but like once you get to RB 21 categories, it's kind of like
those are the type
there's
of
gonna be
guys.
more.
If he's your third running back, you're fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And that's what the expectation was based off the draft rank. And also he finished higher in PPR leagues and things like that. Like,
and by the way, important to mention this. Now, this is the second year in a row where people have said this guy's injury prone and he finished a full healthy season. I think that's important too. This guy has gotten a bad rap of, oh, he's never healthy. Oh, he's never healthy. Well, he just played a whole nother fucking full season again.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I want to mention is he finishes higher in PPR scorings. Yahoo uses, I think, half point PPR, and we're judging this on non-PPR. So, like,
yeah,
he has him as RB 24 and half point PPR, and then in the non-PPR, which is what we're using for ruling, RB 21. So
he's probably a little bit higher in the PPR, I would guess.
Yeah. Yep. He finished higher in PPRs and by extension, half point PPRs as well.
Okay.
So, like, RB 21, if you're in different league formats, it's higher than that as well. So, do you want to mention that? Another thing that we haven't talked about that I'll also throw out there, right next to DeAndre Swift is J.K. Dobbins. We talked about J.K. Dobbins a lot in the first video.
Yeah,
that was a one that we were correct on as well. So, don't have to go too deep on
that
Dobbins.
fucking guy has broken my heart.
The 1 year.
I did have him in the ESPN league, but he broke my heart. So I picked Dobbins out of Ohio State in the rookie draft, and then Harbaugh decides to play him in the preseason game. He tears up his knee, and anyway.
And then he tears up his knee again, then his Achilles again, then his knee 4 more times, and it's been a rough run for Dobbins.
He's back.
Yeah, he's back. I had him on my team, and I didn't win the league, but he helped me a lot. So shout out J.K. Dobbins. Back to the DeAndre Swift. 7-2, DeAndre Swift takes it. So point for Swift gets you to 7-2 on the scoring. And next up, Zamir White.
Ugh. How about this one? The best Raiders running back all year, you could argue it was Sincere McCormick. Who was the best Raiders running back? Who was the best Raiders running back this year? I mean, they all sucked. Like, it wasn't just like because they were riding the Madison train. That's why they were like, oh, well, we don't want to take Zamir White because we think it's going to be Madison. It wasn't fucking Madison. It was nobody. The correct answer was nobody.
Yeah. And I remember in that video as well, it was, I don't love taking a running back on a bad team.
I broke my own rule, and I'll never do it again.
Zamir White. Thankfully, Zamir White's preseason price was RB 27.
Yeah.
So, like,
if you cut him, he didn't kill you if you just cut him. But not a good call. I'll say this though. I mean, wow, did they suck, the Raiders? I mean, wow, did they suck?
How in the hell did they win? What do they have? 5 wins? How in the hell?
They're bad.
They're gonna get like picked 7 or something.
And my thought was like, okay, well, Jacobs was at least semi-productive. Zamir White comes in late in the year and he actually had a couple good weeks the year before. And I'm like, okay, he's the full running back here at 27. If he's my fourth or fifth running back, let's fire it up. And that was not good.
No. That's one of
Literally,
those sometimes.
Sincere McCormick was the best. I mean, eye test wise, he was their best running back all year.
Sometimes you got to fall on, bombs trying to hit a home
Zamir
run.
White, horrible call. But I'll say this. I don't think he totally sucks. Like, if you put him on, I don't know. If he was the Chiefs running back this year, I don't think he would have did that.
Yeah, I agree.
But it is what it is.
Like, for example, we can use Detroit as an example. Like,
Yeah.
what if he was like their, like, quote unquote backup to Montgomery?
If Montgomery
And then
got
Montgomery
hurt and
gets
he
hurt.
filled in for Montgomery, he would have hit.
Something like that. Would have been a much better situation for him. But damn, the Raiders suck.
Look, this is why we do this. If anything, this should be a reminder to myself that do not pick running backs on bad teams. And you can't stress that. Like, I would love to do a what's the combined record of all the top 8 running back of Henry, who is Josh Jacobs, Gibbs, like that group. If you just combine their team record, I bet you it's astronomical.
Yeah. Pretty much all are on like elite teams.
That's the point that I try to make every single year. I don't want running backs on bad teams, and it plays out like that every single fucking year.
Yep. Your 2 exceptions are Bijan Robinson and Kyron Williams.
Yep.
And they're not like on 4 and
they're in the
win
mix
teams.
for a playoff spot.
Yep. Rams are a playoff team. Falcons get to play the NFC South, so makes them look better than they are. But hey, that's a whole nother.
But this is why we do this. Hey, where did I fuck up? If anything, it's a reminder that follow your own fucking rule. Do not pick running backs on bad teams.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the good ones that win you your league are usually on the best teams.
Mm-hmm. You also would have had Montgomery would have been a top 10 back as a guy if he doesn't get hurt as well. So like, there's another one off a good team. All right, where are we at? I believe that was the last running back of the group.
So what's the scoring at now?
7-2-3.
Okay.
And going over to the man, the myth, the legend, Drake London. This one, I can only imagine how you feel.
I don't have to jump off a roof.
No, he finished as wide receiver 11.
Yeah.
And you said you'd jump off a roof if you finished as wide receiver 10. So
I don't have to jump off a roof.
Hands clean. Hands clean. And I don't know how much you want to defend the call here, but
I would love to.
Okay, because I was going to as well, but I'll let you lead it off because this one I've got opinions on this as well.
Please go first.
Okay.
Actually.
Let me pull up the exact scoring, but this Drake London wide receiver finishes at 11. To me, is just a stroke of the biggest luck you could possibly imagine. Drake London finishes the season as wide receiver 11 with 164.1 points.
Yep.
Wide receiver
17. T. Higgins, right?
Huh? No, yeah.
T.
T. Higgins finished above him at wide receiver 10.
But he needed that. What was it? He had that 37-point week or something to pass him. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And T also missed 5 games.
Yeah.
Jameson Williams finished above him, missed 2. Addison finished above him, missed 2, who we'll talk about in a second. CD missed a game. Mike Evans missed 3. So all those guys finished above him while missing games. But
McConkey almost got him.
Yes, this is exactly what I was going to say. So London finishes at 164.1, and that makes him wide receiver 11. In a 10-point span, you have Cortland Sutton, who finishes at 159.3. He is wide receiver 17.
I regret not adding Sutton to the list because he was criminally low on Sutton. And I think the argument was, well, Bo Nix is going to suck. It's like, well, he might suck, but Sean Payton's his coach, so he probably won't suck.
Yeah. But my point here is in between wide receiver 11 London and 17 Sutton, there's less than 10 points of difference.
Yeah.
In between 11 all the way to 17. I mean, this is like the biggest cluster of receivers ever.
He didn't miss a game.
He didn't miss a game. Right behind him, A.J. Brown missed games.
Yeah.
Jackson Smith and Jigba didn't miss any. Malik Neighbors missed games. McConkey missed a game.
Yeah.
You want to go further down? Devontae Adams missed 3.
He was significantly lower on the points per game.
Yep. And this also comes in a year where Nico Collins.
Rashee Rice would have outscored him by a mile too.
Yes, those are the guys I have written down. Rashee Rice, who you said to draft before, you said to draft Rashee, would have been a better pick. And also, Nico Collins, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua all would have been shoo-ins to finish above him if they don't miss extended time as well.
Yeah.
So he's in a cluster of wide receivers to where if you had these guys in your team, really makes no difference whether you have wide receiver 11, 17, or any of them in between. Then the guys past 17, half of them are way better guys that got hurt. Or you've got a guy like Tyreek, who that's quarterback getting hurt. Like, this was a very luck-filled year, in my opinion.
I was going to say this. I don't think he'll ever finish this high again.
I don't hate it.
Like, I'll say this. I don't think he'll ever finish that high again. And I don't have this pulled up, but I mean, good God, how many targets did he have? He had to be top 5 in the NFL in targets. They threw that fucking guy the ball at least 10 times a game, it felt like. I should probably pull that up. What were the actual target numbers? Because it was out of control. Like, they did everything in his fucking power. Everything in his fucking power to try to get him that finish, and it still didn't happen for him. And I'll say this. If you had Drake London, you didn't lose your league because of it, but nobody won their league because of Drake London.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there were no weeks. He might have had that 1 week where it was the overtime game against Tampa. Other than that, like, nobody won their league because of him.
He had one 23.4 point performance that was his only finish above 20 points.
Okay, so I have it here. He had 140 targets. And he had 90 receptions. Everybody else ahead of him on that list totally outperformed him. That's a fuck ton of targets.
That's a lot. It is a lot. And the best part is he still didn't hit the benchmark.
Yeah. 6th in the NFL.
He still took overtime.
6th in the NFL in targets. Played every fucking game. And still didn't hit it.
It's crazy. And I mean, I'm gonna have to agree with you that he never finishes top 10. Like, if he didn't do it this year, like, you're just now from here on out, you're just begging that Penix is gonna sling it to him, which maybe they might, but like, you need Penix to sling it to him unreasonable amount of times, on top of guys getting injured, and on top of having like luck in the mix. Like, it's got to be one special concoction. Like, to get him to 11 this year was a stroke of just the massive luck you could mention.
I'll say this: like, anybody that wants to double down on this bet for next year, please call me. That's all I'll say.
For him to not finish top 10?
Yeah.
And the best part is, still finished 11. It's not even like you were wrong this time.
I don't know. I mean, I watched him this year. Did he get better from his rookie year? Absolutely. He definitely got better from his rookie year. But again, I'll say this one more time. This idea that he was worth a top 10 pick in the NFL draft is fucking insane.
He would be, and I agree with you on that. And the next part of that is people would talk about him differently if he was drafted 20th overall, for example. He'd be talked about differently.
But they picked him ahead of Garrett Wilson. He was the number 1 wide receiver taken that year.
And also, he only finished ahead of Garrett Wilson is because Aaron Rodgers is like washed beyond bits, and they decided to trade for Devontae Adams. Like, if the whole Jet situation doesn't happen, and that's not a mess.
Oh, like, I would have loved to see Drake London and the Jets. That would have been fun.
Also, Drake London's the big.
By the way, Darnell Mooney almost outscored him in the same offense.
Darnell Mooney had a good year.
Like, that doesn't happen to other elite wide receivers. Like, Darnell Mooney ain't outscoring Justin Jefferson. You know what I mean? Like, that almost happened. How close was Mooney to him?
Mooney was wide receiver 28, finished with 139 for his season total. London's season total was 164.
He missed a game too, right? Mooney? No.
He He logged a 0.
He got hurt
yeah.
in that game. That's what it was.
So,
He was close. He almost outscored him.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that I really tried to stress earlier is that the gap between wide receiver 11 and wide receiver 17 that's close, less than 10 points, but extending that to guys in the 20s, like there's not a huge
Nobody
gap.
won their league because of London. Like he didn't go out and win you your league. He didn't kill you, but he didn't go out and win you your league either.
Yep. Especially considering you could have, the amount that people were spending on him.
Oh, yeah.
You could have had McConkey and gotten the same amount of points, basically.
Yeah. Like he wasn't worth taking like that group of running backs that won you.
Mm-hmm.
He was going ahead of some of those guys.
Yep. That's losing. That's losing leagues.
Yeah.
The next wide receiver on the list, George Pickens.
I would guess this is not going to be a hit.
This is not a hit. The take was under wide receiver 32. Man, did I think this was the biggest layup of the group.
Where did he finish?
He finishes wide receiver 41, and he missed 3 games.
I want to pull up his points per game. He might have actually gotten it points per game, but I'm sure it's a loss either way. It don't matter.
8.72 on the points per game. Puts him at 37th.
Okay, so he still didn't hit it.
Man, tough. I don't even know what to say here because, like...
I know exactly what to say.
Okay.
Did anybody watch the game yesterday? He's checked out. Like, he wants out of there so bad. And he's a knucklehead. Like, I know how knuckleheads think. When those people are checked out, they're done. Like, please give him to the Chiefs or somebody like that. Please. Like, I'm begging you. If he was in, like, an offense where he didn't despise everybody around him, he would have hit. But as long as this Pittsburgh thing's happening, this is done.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because you can see the talent from a mile away. Like,
now, I don't think it's impossible he gets moved during the offseason, but I would say this for the upcoming year. If he's still on Pittsburgh, just forget it. But if they do move him, I'll take whatever. Give me all the stuff. If like he gets moved to a Kansas City, he gets moved to like a contender, sign me up. But this thing in Pittsburgh's done. I think that's the lesson to be learned here.
And if you're trying to trade for a wide receiver, why the hell wouldn't you? Like, that's the guy. Like, if you're like Kansas City, whoever you want to throw out, like, is there any, like, that's the guy I want to go get? Like, it shouldn't even be a conversation unless some unforeseen thing happens where.
Well, did you see the game they played the Chiefs where he went up to Mahomes and Kelsey post game is like, please come get me. Did you see that?
Yeah. I don't blame him. I'd hate playing in Pittsburgh too.
I just think the lesson to be learned here. If he's on Pittsburgh again next year, forget it. Like he's so done with that shit. It's obvious. It's obvious watching it.
It's a shame. It really is. It's a shame.
And he had a couple good weeks when Wilson first took over, and they're like, "Fuck it, we're just throwing these bombs." Like he did have a couple good weeks when he first took over that really helped you, but season long, no, it didn't.
He had a 15, a 17, and a 19-point performance. He also missed 3 games, so like he finishes above some of these guys if he can play a full season. Oh my God, Nick Westbrook at Keeney finished wide receiver 39. I would have never in a million years.
He had a couple bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had like 4 zeros on here, and then there's like some 20s and some. I'm like, oh my God, I just saw that out of the corner of my eye. I was like, geez. Jordan Addison is the next one, and you had the under on wide receiver 48. So this was the layup of the group.
Oh yeah.
He finishes.
I just thought that was insane.
It was.
Yeah.
He finishes wide receiver 8.
Crazy.
And
he wasn't healthy at the start of the year.
Yep. He started the year 3.5.
He was dealing with an ankle
Did
at
not
the start
play.
of the year.
Did not play.
Yeah.
So, this is also right in line with like the whole Minnesota thing.
Mhm.
Like, you get credit for that as well, but like the whole discussion was preseason was all centered around Minnesota. Like, I don't know how people continue to count out like this offense after seeing the way this team operates every single year. Like, my God, they're chucking it around the yard with Dobbs and Mullins, and guys are managing to produce. Like, shit. Now they got Darnold. That's a massive upgrade. Like,
Well, I
please,
think
give me
part
some
of
these
this
guys.
was like fantasy football is a combination of like opportunity and talent.
Mhm.
Forget about the opportunity. Forget about the fact that he's in Minnesota. He's good.
Yeah.
He's good. Like, how is he 48 or whatever he had him? He was picked in the first round. Like, the comp I had for him coming out was I think he's going to be like a strong version of Ridley. And that's kind of what he is.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah, why does he have a 48 is like bum territory?
Yeah.
Like, I wish I had the full preseason rankings pulled up in front of me, but some of the guys that you'd have
That's
to
what
put
I'm
ahead of
saying,
him
is
to
like,
get to 48.
He was picked in the first round. Like, he don't suck.
And also, he was picked in the first round, and it was like, yeah, I get that. Like, he was one of the he was wide receiver one off the board as well, right?
That was the Zay Flowers, Smith and Jigba, Quentin Johnston draft. That's what that was.
And he was the first one off the board, right? Or was it JSN?
No, it was Johnston.
Oh my God, I forgot.
It was Johnston and then Flowers and then, right? I think it was Johnston, Flowers, Smith and Jigba, and then Addison. I think. I could be wrong about that. I think Johnston was first.
That's insane. Speaking of comebacks, my God. Quentin Johnston out of nowhere.
He still fucking can't catch, I'll say that.
He's still not good at football, but he did outproduce expectations when it comes to fantasy.
He
I'll
can't
give him
catch.
that respect.
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought the Addison thing, like, man, like wide receiver 48, like we're talking like, I don't know who would have been around that fucking point, but we're talking like wide receiver 48. Jeez.
Oh, here was the run. They were all drafted.
Yeah,
with
they were all right next to each other.
So Seattle started it at 20 with Smith and Jigba, 21 Quentin Johnston, Chargers, 22 Zay Flowers, Baltimore, 23 Minnesota, Jordan Addison.
Yeah.
So that was the run of receivers.
Well, like wide receiver 48. I don't know. That's just so criminal. And I get that he was hurt at the start of the year. We said that. It's like, hey, maybe who gives a fuck about the first 4 weeks of the year? But man, I don't know. I just thought that was so disrespectful.
Here is his write-up. So this is kind of his logic here.
Yeah, please.
So we can kind of, because we're sitting here going, what in the hell was he thinking? Here's what he was thinking. Jordan Addison is a huge negative regression candidate.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, right.
I don't know what that means.
That means he did good last year, so he can't do good this year. Because why can he do good? 22
He's like 23. What does that mean?
He scored 10 touchdowns last season on just 15 red zone targets.
Okay.
It's a wide receiver, not a running back, so the red zone touches aren't the end of the world.
I don't know what this means.
He also averaged a measly 6.8 points per game in his 9 games without a score. So when he doesn't score touchdowns, he scores.
That's usually how it works, though. If you don't score a touchdown, maybe your point total is not going to be high.
Averaging just 34 yards per game in those contests. All right, fair enough. Addison, unlike Justin Jefferson, also fell way off without Kirk Cousins. So he's not like Justin Jefferson. Good to know. In the 9 games without Cousins, Addison was wide receiver 43. So wide receiver 43. He had him at 48 without Cousins.
But another year getting better. Like, he's like 23.
And also, that is implying that Darnold equals Mullins and Dobbins, which is just frankly incorrect.
But everybody else had that, though. That's not to be forgotten. Everybody else fucking acted like he was that.
And then he said, but at least he was scoring some fantasy points over that time. He won't be scoring any fantasy points if he gets suspended for his July DUI arrest. Fair enough on the DUI, but
like the one right before that, or right after that.
Oh, Sutton, yeah, 50. That would have been a layup as well. Somehow would have been less of a layup than Addison, which is crazy. But the
only reason I didn't put Sutton is because maybe it'll be Mims and Franklin. That's the only reason why I didn't do that one.
I've historically had Sutton in several leagues, and this year I was like, I can't do it again. I can't do it again. And I should have. I should have done it again.
I had him in the site league. I didn't have him in any other, but.
All right. So the real question here is, do we do a point or a bonus point? I'm leaning towards a bonus point because he finished wide receiver 10 and he had him at 48.
8, right? Wide receiver 8.
Yeah. Yep. So
ahead of London.
Part of me wants to do the good old give you 1 point and subtract 1 point for Barry for having him at 48. So I think that's going to be the a point for Trey and a minus point for Barry. And I kind of like the rub the head in the dirt and,
But that's one of those where how do you win your league? Well, if you get Addison for free, that fucking really helped you. That was a true league winning move.
Mm-hmm.
And I had Addison in all of the leagues I possibly could where he wasn't kept the season prior.
Yep. All right, Trey. Are you ready? The grand finale.
Is this the last one?
Yeah.
How about if you just go back to his article? It's like pass catchers I hate. The whole list is wrong. It's Addison, Sutton, and who we're gonna talk about next. I think that's the whole list.
I will check real quick just to make sure.
I'm pretty positive that's his whole list.
Pass catchers I hate. Oh, he had Pickens, Watson, Addison, Sutton, the guy we're about to talk about, and then Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet, which is okay, congrats. You picked the average tight ends to not be good.
But that's his whole
tight
list.
ends suck.
That's his whole list. He would have bombed his whole list.
All right.
Yeah.
The grand finale.
This is the last one?
Yes, it is. I saved it for last.
What's the score right now? What's the score before this?
9-3, because we did +1 for you getting Addison correct and -1 for him having Addison as wide receiver 48.
Okay.
So. All right. I don't even know where to start with this. Let's roll the videos first, and then we'll get into over and unders and things like that. So,
sure.
Video number 1. We are submitting the evidence into court.
Okay.
All right.
Who is a must-have choice for you in your drafts? Matthew, give me a bold prediction on this rookie class.
All right.
Call your shot with the Dollarita.
There we go. Listen, calling my shot, I like to call my Dollarita, but I will say, here's my shot. This is my bold prediction. I'm going pretty bold here. Ben Sinnott,
I know him.
Rookie tight end of the Washington Commanders, has a better fantasy season this year than the highly touted Brock Bowers.
I like
better
it.
Quarterback situation, less target competition. Give me Ben Sinnott over Brock Bowers in fantasy points his rookie year.
$7 Dollarita on the Dollarita scale for that one?
That is video.
Can we just show the date too? Can we show the date on that? Because I don't want people thinking I made this on AI and fucking.
There's the Twitter post. Let's see. Where's the date on this? May 13th, 2024.
There we go.
It was tweeted.
I don't want people thinking I made this on AI and fucking cheated or something.
All right. The next video. This one straight from his YouTube.
Double down on it.
This one, I don't know if it's quite a double down. This one, I've got some opinions on this one.
Okay.
But this one's worse in my opinion.
You think it's worse?
Yes. All right, here is straight from his YouTube another bold.
I believe the Washington tight end, which will in the beginning of the year will be Zach Ertz and Ben Sinnott towards the end of the year, but I believe the Washington tight end will outscore Brock Bowers, who by all accounts is as good a tight end prospect to come since Kyle Pitts to come out of college. But my argument here is, first off, I tell my daughters, find you somebody who looks at you the way Cliff Kingsbury looks at Zach Ertz, right? Under Kingsbury in Arizona from 2021 to 2022, this is 21 games he played under Kingsbury. He was the 5th best tight end in fantasy on a points per game basis. Sorry, 6th best. He was the 6th best fantasy tight end on a points per game basis as well, right? Since 2014, he's never had a target share below 18%. 30% of his team's red zone targets last year, tied for second most among tight ends. And think about what else is there in Washington, right? Jahan Dotson has moved on. De'Ami Brown to this date has been mostly just a deep threat. Luke McCaffrey's a rookie. Zach Ertz is going to be a lot more involved in this offense, and what I think will be a competent to above average passing offense under Jaden Daniels than people think. Meanwhile, Brock Bowers, who has phenomenal talent, but he goes to a situation where you've got questionable quarterback play in Minshew and or AOC. Start with Minshew, but if he struggles, he'll have a short leash. And then you also think about Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. You've got Michael Mayer there as well. There's a lot of mouths to feed on a team that wants to be run heavy. So, yes, I think the Washington tight end, Ertz, and then Sinnott, that as a position outscores Brock Bowers this year. That's my bold prediction.
To be fair to
I have a lot to say, so I would love why you thought the second one was worse, actually.
I will also say he had a little bit more context. He had Bowers. I actually forgot to write down his preseason where he had him. I'll get that in a second. But Sinnott finishes tight end 68. Bowers
68? I thought that's actually higher than I thought.
Well, all right. Well, hold on a second. Once you start getting to these.
Well, he had one. What do you have? 3 catches the whole year?
Yeah, but some of these guys he's around that finished above him. This is another.
I would love that list.
Hold up. I've got to expand it to the top 100 players. 64 isn't enough to get to it all. All right. Ben Sinnott finishes as tight end at 68. Ahead of him, Daniel Bellinger, Michael Pruitt, Connor Hayward, Blake Hayward. Michael Mayer finishes as wide receiver 63. So he was a threat to Brock Bowers, though. He was a threat to finish steal targets from Brock Bowers. Mm-hmm. Lucas Kroll, Eric All.
Who the fuck's Lucas Kroll?
I don't know, but he had more. He had.
What team is that?
Denver.
Okay.
Eric All, Eric Saubert, Andrew Ogletree, Drew Sample, Kylan Granson, Payne at Durham, Stone Smart, Cade Stover, Charlie Kolar, Tanner Hudson, Mo Alley Cox, Brock Wright, Darnell Washington, Tommy Trumbull. The list goes on and on. All finished above Ben Sinnott. And the reason I thought it was worse because the original take was Ben Sinnott will outfinish him, and then he's like, "Oh well, I gotta find a way to lump Zach Ertz in here." So when Zach Ertz actually didn't have a bad fantasy year, that would have been a good pick. Zach Ertz finishes wide receiver 8, but I just think it's so bitch to be like, Ben Sinnott's gonna outscore him, and then you're like, well, actually, I want Zach Ertz too. I think they're both gonna outscore him, so it's like that's why I think it was the worst. The original call is technically dumber, but I think the second one is kind of like trying to reword it to get yourself an advantage, and that I think is more. The principle of that's more bitch.
I think this is the number one point. Like, when I tell you guys, like, hey, what do you guys think? Like, I just don't want you to act like Connor Rodgers. Like, please never act like Connor Rodgers. Please never. If I'm like dead wrong about something and you guys think that, please don't tell me why I like it. Like, his job is to be the NFL draft guy for that show. His job is to know all the rookies. Any NFL draft person that really studied this shit, because I don't know if you want to pull up the Bowers profile or the Sinnott profile or any of that shit. I mean, I thought Brock Bowers was the best tight end I've ever seen coming out of college. And I did not think that he was going to finish as tight end 1 as a rookie. I will fully admit that. I did not see tight end 1 coming, mostly because he played for the Raiders. Like, if he played for somebody else, then maybe I would have had that. But it was mostly like, I don't know if he's going to like be the number 1 scoring tight end on the Raiders as a rookie.
Yeah. He also finished 2.
Who finished ahead of him?
George Kittle.
Really? I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Bowers blew everybody out. Okay.
Actually, George Kittle got him by a decent margin as well.
Interesting.
George Kittle had 171. Bowers had 147. And this is our slight league scoring, so slight touchdown premium.
Okay. Interesting. But yeah, I mean, the number one thing that should drive everybody insane is, look, man, you're on that show to be the NFL draft guy. You're on that show to know the prospects. How do you not have a counter for that? How are you going to sit there and say, I like it? And you studied this? Like, you're telling me you studied this NFL draft shit? That's the number one thing that bothered me. Like, why are you on that show? Why are you receiving a salary for you to say I like it? You're not even gonna fucking combat it at all. What are you there for?
Yeah,
Because it's been established by now. Matthew Berry does not watch college football. It's obvious. Because if he did watch college football, he never would have said those things. But since we know he doesn't watch college football, he hired a guy that does. Clearly, the guy that he hired won't say what he needs to hear. He'll tell him what he wants to hear, not what he needs to hear.
Yeah, and that's also, I don't know a ton about Connor Rogers, but that's not even like a insult on intelligence. That's like a, just say you disagree.
No, it's just like, what are you there for if you're not going to do those things?
Yeah.
What are you there for?
Yeah. Here is the Brock Bowers draft profile.
I had him as the third best player in the entire draft, which is looking like it's probably, I mean, the only thing that maybe you could say is wrong about this is maybe he's better than Harrison. But we don't know that. It's probably too soon to say all that after a rookie year. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was obvious. If you really watch college football, this was one of the fucking blue chip players of the draft.
Yep. I mean, the end paragraph here is like spot on. I sleep really good at night knowing I turned in the card for a blue chip guy if I draft Bowers. Like and is that not the best draft pick the Raiders have made?
I said that at the time. I said that when it was like, Chickster, the best thing that fucking happened to you was when Atlanta picked Penix.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't know if you want to pull up that fantasy video where I made that appearance. I go on a long rant about how Ben Sinnott is going to be nothing. So I think that context needs to be added in here because I just don't know how anybody thought he was going to be a factor. Like, I just really don't. Like, I just really don't understand how anybody watched him, whether it be the combine, whether it be at Kansas State, how anybody watched him is going to like, oh, he's going to be a fucking hit as a rookie.
Yeah, I think it's weird too because I don't really know where exactly this all came from.
Well, he's a Commanders fan.
Oh, well, but like, I don't think it was the only one. There were some other people being.
Oh yeah, I know.
I don't know where the whole, like, sometimes players just like random players just like all of a sudden are going to be getting fantasy for no reason.
Yeah,
and I at least understand it to a point with Brooks because like everyone loves the running back position. You're trying to find a guy, like it's incorrect, but like at least I understand how you got to the wrong logic. I don't know how you get to like I'm trying to find a tight end.
He's an H-back.
Ben Sinnott.
He's a glorified fullback.
How do we feel about these kind of ancillary tight ends?
I'd like to add one thing on Bowers before I answer that question.
Oh, please go ahead. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing with these rookie drafts is people are very impatient and you got to play the stock market with it. You have to. And the fact that his quarterback is now Gardner Minshew and he's playing for the Raiders and they already have Michael. I don't think Michael Mayer is a world beater, but he's not going to have 0 receptions.
Okay.
I think you can get Brock Bowers next year. Like let the person pick him at 4 and then offer that person a
And then go get him when that guy's done with.
Do you think that's crazy though?
That's what I would do.
Can we pause it there first? Like, do you think you could obtain Bowers in a trade in Dynasty?
Right now?
Yeah.
I think you could, but I think it'd be harder than expected.
Like where I was drafting, I just I couldn't pass on Harrison.
Yeah. So what I'll say to that is maybe it's hard to do it right now because you're gonna get all the postseason Bowers hype, but like we talked about this a little bit during the year. Like, how much did Sam Laporta's trade value fluctuate from where it started at the beginning of the year to where it was after a couple of down weeks? And Laporta ended up finishing better the second half of the year. I don't know that Bowers will necessarily get to the same point of like, oh, he had 6 weeks where holy shit, he gave me nothing. I don't think he'll have that.
No,
there will be points where
I was picking I couldn't pick Bowers as the number 1 rookie.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's bad.
I just think if you really want Bowers, you can still have him.
Yeah, and I mean,
but
also
more
in
of
this
a-
hypothetical, you've got Harrison, McConkey, Irving. So it's like it's not like you don't have in this
Well, and-
hypothetical you'd have
and
weapons. to
if you did take McCarthy, I would think you were smart enough to double in and get Darnold too.
Mhm.
But anyway,
I thought the Ben Sinnott pick was hilarious. Like, I don't know what they were doing there. This idea that guy's a second-round player is nonsense.
Yeah,
So
crazy to me because I kept hearing people calling him a fullback everywhere
he
I was
is.
looking him up, and I'm just like, that doesn't belong in the second round of the NFL
No.
draft.
Like if you get Kyle Juszczyk out of him, you got to be very excited. But I don't know how that helps you in fantasy. So I thought that was a nonsense pick. But again, I guess that goes to show that the guy that got a promotion for picking Trey Lance is in charge of that draft. So who knows? I would take the shot on Jadavian Sanders. I don't mind that, former 5-star recruit. I'm not sure he's super naturally gifted in terms of straight line stuff, but he was a talented receiver at Texas. So, I mean, who does Carolina really have? Tommy Tremble. He's a blocking guy. He stinks.
Yeah.
I would take the shot on Jadavian Sanders.
Tommy Tremble, by the way, pause it real quick. Tommy Tremble finished ahead of Ben Sinnott.
unbelievable.
It's only going up from here, right, for Carolina? So
Exactly.
it can't get worse, right?
Austin mentioned the clean slate earlier, and Jatavian Sanders is a part of that clean slate as well, I imagine, Austin.
Yeah, no, I think that is definitely the case. All
right, you want more of this? Or
I just want the
is
part
that,
where I said if you're doing, maybe fast forward a little bit, because there's a part in here I said, why would the fuck would I pick Sinnott when I could just have like Freiermuth for free? Where did Freiermuth finish, by the way?
Freiermuth finishes with 104 points, averaging 6.5 a game.
Not terrible. If you missed on everybody.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like getting a guy for free,
yeah,
and like holy hell, I need a tight end, like, and that's the way that I play as well. I'm gonna try and land one of these guys at the top. I
did have Bowers in 2 leagues, but the only thing that I was wrong about Bowers, I didn't think he was going to be the number, 2 scoring tight end.
Yeah, some of these tight ends are hilarious.
Yeah,
Jonnu Smith finishes tight end 4.
Wow. Good for him.
Mark Andrews manages to finish tight end 3
after a horrible. By the way, I have him in a league.
He starts the year.
I picked him up when he got dropped.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He starts 1.4, 5.1, 0, 0.
I literally have him. I'll show it to you. I picked him up when he got dropped. It was like, that seems a bit much.
Noah Gray, tight end 15. Some of this, I mean, it's just the tight end position is really a hilarious one in my opinion.
So, do we want to go over anything else in terms of this? I think this is the worst call in fantasy football history. Like, I legitimately, if I did this, I think I would quit. Like, I was like, I'm not meant to do this. I should just go be a gym teacher. Like, I'm being dead serious.
I know. That's what I'm laughing.
I would quit.
It's bad. It is bad. I don't even know where to go as far as the scoring goes because, like, it's already 9-3. Do we go?
It was 9-3 before the most egregious call in fantasy football history.
Yeah. So I said, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how many points I tack on here. Going at least 2, but I don't know if I don't think this is 2 years. I don't think I've ever whipped out the 3-point bonus point. I think I haven't gone
You might
above
have
the 2
Mike
marker.
Evans last year.
Oh, Mike Evans. And by the way, great call last year on Mike Evans. So we'll go the 3-point again. Maybe we'll do the 2 bonus for you, and then the screw you, Barry. You're getting a -1 for your stupid ass prediction. Okay. I'm a fan of the -1s, if you can't tell.
Fair enough.
I like the.
Well, I think you could make the argument that even if I was losing, which isn't the case, even if I was losing, he should be automatically disqualified for the worst call in fantasy football history.
I think it would be fair, but in this case, we don't know. Thankfully, this is usually a low pressure for my rulings because
this is the icing on the cake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's low. It's not like we're knotted up, 5-5. You're trying to get a comeback or you're down. We're already up 9-3. It's an easy job for me. It's just how bad is the final number going to be? That's really all I have to figure out. I enjoy it, honestly.
Great.
Do you have any other fantasy call-outs you
So
want to make?
What's the exact final score?
11-2 is the exact final score.
Okay, not bad. We actually almost did. I think we did better than last year, or around the same.
Last
Actually,
year
around
honestly
the
might
same.
have been 11-2 as well. It
Really?
might be the exact same. Yeah, I'd have to double check, but
So what? We're approximately 22-4 lifetime.
over the course of 2 years, yep,
Unbelievable.
around that number, give or take.
Unbelievable.
I know it was his wins were 2 last year. So I know his final number is 4, but I don't know. Yours maybe 25, 26, maybe it's 24, but it's somewhere in that.
So roughly
Mid-points.
24-2 lifetime over this guy.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Yeah, king of fantasy football. I guess he invented it. I guess.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It is quite ridiculous.
I want to hear your thoughts. Like, did you think we would? I don't even know what the wording is
On the challenge as a whole, or
I mean, look, I expected to win,
Mhm.
but 22-4 or whatever the fuck it is, lifetime. I mean, come on, what are we doing?
Yeah, and some of that is luck as well. Like, who knows? In a hypothetical world, what happens if Chase Brown or if Zach Moss doesn't get hurt?
I think you
Or,
were
like,
all for him.
Yeah, exactly. Like hypothetical, what happens if Tua doesn't get hurt? Like you can, and that's the way that a lot of your losses on these are, is a lot of like hypotheticals and like what ifs. Like it took a stroke of luck. The only real bad call of all these is Zamir White.
Yeah.
That's like and you said hands up. And then you got like Pickens, which it's like, I mean, you can't really predict that he's gonna stop playing. You know what I mean? Like, he's a knucklehead, but who would have thought he's going to mail it in? Like, so I don't even think the losses, even when he does scrape away a victory, I don't think they are.
But even the misses, I wouldn't say those are like, oh my God, I reached and I fucking lost because of it. Like if you pick some of these running backs instead of that group, I'm trying to think of the example. Who really fucking killed you? Like his ride or die this year was Kyler Murray. He had him as like QB4 or something like that. He killed you. I mean, if you reached for Kyler Murray, he killed you.
Yeah.
So even the Zamir White and Pickens ones, like those were, if you did a snake draft, they were like your 8th round pick or something like that, right?
Yep.
And
that's and they're hits on the opposite side of the coin, which are the
you literally
Jordan
need
Addison.
you literally need to cut a couple guys for bye week kickers and shit anyway.
Yeah. Like it's Zamir White, for example, if you were in a league where Jordan Mason wasn't drafted, you're like, I'll drop him for Mason and you're fine. Like, or Tyrone Tracy or whoever you want to say.
Well, that's what
like
I did.
So I don't think they're not bad misses. It's not like you're taking Jonathon Brooks ahead of
exactly
guys that are finishing well. You know what I mean? Like
if you took Jonathon Brooks as a top 20 running back, like some of those fucking knuckleheads did, that killed you.
Yeah. Like if you're staring down Brooks, Montgomery, Swift, and you walk out with Brooks, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like that's the type of stuff that loses you leagues. So it's been in the UFC writer in me, TKO.
Beautiful.
Actually, straight knockout.
Beautiful. I just like, is anybody going to acknowledge this? Like, this guy gets paid millions. I mean, millions. And we humiliated him.
Every year, back to back.
It's not even close. Like, it's not even close. Like, it'd be one thing if I'm scraping by, getting a close win. I'm killing him based on his list.
That should also be stressed, is that you're not, it's not your love list.
No.
We're not taking from your love list or your hate list. We're taking from his, which makes it harder to.
I can only pick a handful of things, but he's so bad at this that his entire fucking hate list on the receivers was wrong. Like, what are we doing?
It is bad.
It's bad.
That's funny.
Like, we got to stop pretending this guy invented fantasy football. A, he did not invent fantasy football. He did not invent the concept of fantasy football. And B, he's just not good at it. And C, the people that he hired that are supposed to help him clearly are not helping him.
Man, the Saints Super Bowl call was special. That was,
Those are the guys on the show, and I haven't even mentioned the that Lawrence guy. I mean, I didn't even want to show him on camera. He can't speak. Like, he literally can't speak. It's horrible. You ever I dare anybody, and I don't even want to put it on the. Go watch that a clip of that Lawrence guy. Oh my god! Like, you can't even listen to him. It's like he's speaking broken Chinese. Like, it's bad. Like, he literally can't speak. I don't know
is that the Australian guy or a different guy?
No, that's the on that Bowers video. It was the Australian guy. It's the Connor Rogers guy, and then it's the guy right in the middle of him. If anybody goes and watches that guy, you can't listen to him. I dare you to listen to him for 2 minutes. It's impossible.
It's a prereq for the job, unfortunately. Like, it's a pretty.
He literally can't speak. It's horrible, horrible. But yeah, I mean, he's bad, and the people he hired clearly are not helping him. Mm-hmm. And how about the, I guess the article where it's, I guess we can end with this. The article where it's pulled up of like the original Matthew Berry challenge to like mark all the picks for this year. There's that fantasy footballer guy where he's like, I only have my job because of Matthew Berry. Let's please end that nonsense. Like, nobody has their job in this industry because of Matthew Berry.
Yeah.
Now, you could argue that ESPN made it more popular by giving him a chance by hiring him. Then maybe you could argue that it sped up the industry for everybody else because ESPN gave him a chance. Maybe you can make that argument. But let's not ever fucking utter the words, I have my job because of Matthew Berry. Let's never say that again, please.
It's a tough. If he's not cashing your paychecks, it's a tough.
I have my job because of Matthew Berry. Are we serious?
That's bad. That's bad.
Can we pull that up real quick?
Right there.
I would not have my job right now if it weren't for Matthew Berry, who does not work at NBC Sports. He hosts a random podcast. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Are we serious?
Yeah, and you even defended the poor guy. You have a job because you put the work in.
This is insane. How are we doing this? It's crazy. Crazy. And I don't even like that fantasy footballer show. I do not like that show. But you have a job because you got the fucking viewership for it. Not because he fucking handed you a check. Like, these people these people drive me insane because nobody wants to actually tell the truth. It's kiss everybody's ass. Oh, let's hold hands. It's nonsense. Nonsense. And then next year, everyone will forget about it. Everybody. Nobody said all those things about Jonathon Brooks. Nobody said that Jordan Addison sucked. Nobody said that Darnold was bad. Like, it'll be the same shit.
And we already witnessed it once. Went from last year to this year. No, I don't remember all the guys from last year, but nobody took the Mike Evans was going to suck. You know, like there were some bad ones last year, and just nothing changed.
Well, another victory for Trey. I guess we'll see you guys next year. Any closing thoughts?
I don't have any closing thoughts. It's a beatdown as expected. Some great calls in there, some bad calls from Barry.
Okay.
It's the new industry standard.
The only thing I'll add is this year I hope to be podcasting more on just the NFL draft stuff. We'll be creating the Evaluate the Evaluator series for probably some Bucky Irving. You'll see some Ladd McConkey probably. And our draft stuff will be back. And hopefully, I told Chickster this, to get the fantasy show back up and running. So hopefully that'll be coming back soon too.
Awesome.